Hi guys, so much to talk about in the luxury space right now. We're going to talk about the Row, we're going to talk about Goyard, we're going to talk about Hermes. I'm also going to talk about Fashionphile and the fact that it's coming to the UK. I am. There is so much I want to talk about because there's also, I've done a lot of pre-loved consignment store shopping recently. And I'm going to tell you what I really think about it in the UK and in the USA. Because they're the ones I've got experience of. Let's get going. For those of you that don't know me, I am Deb and this is Wild Unfiltered. Why the name? Well, because my name is Wild and I want this to be an unfiltered space. But what I mean by that, we can talk about whatever we want without fear of judgment, without fear of disrespect or any negativity. So welcome along. Anyway. So many things happening in the luxury space. I've done a whole video on the Hermes lawsuit that is just rocking the news. It's just crazy. I still haven't heard many other YouTubers talk about this. So I think I was pretty much first on the case of what was happening. But anyway, I will link my video above and below because yeah, it's very interesting that this assistant store manager has been allegedly running a counterfeit bag scam via an internet. In effect, he's been basically saying that he can use his own employee portal to get a staff discount. And so if certain clients pay him personally, allegedly, I think this is what's happened, then he will get them the bag of their dreams at a discount. Any red flags for anybody? Anyway, some of the bags that were then handed over to these clients turned out to be counterfeit, and certain bags just never arrived, and so people lost their money. There were so many comments, guys, in my comment box from my previous videos. There were people that felt really sorry for those that are scammed, that obviously he's broken the law, it's just terrible, they've lost their money. He apparently, allegedly had gambling debts and therefore that money will be never seen again. So those people will have lost out and that is awful. Of course it is. Of course it is awful. But people were also saying in my comments, well, what do you expect? You're doing something that is via the back door. You are not doing something through the normal system. It's a red flag. It is a red flag, but also because he has the gravitas of being an assistant manager at Hermes, it's very plausible for some people. But either way, they knew they weren't doing things through the normal system. So, you know, there we are. So any updates on that, I will let you know. But yeah, go and have a look at that video because I go into a lot more detail. I want to quickly talk about the Row. There's been a lot of social media recently about their sample sale in New York. A lot of very differing sort of opinions on this sample sale. I've seen a lot of social media where it's amazing. Look at all these things I've got. I've managed to get some of these amazing, gorgeous pieces for 70% off, huge bargains and all the rest of it. We've had people queuing down the street to get into this sample sale. So some people have loved it and loved the fact that anybody could go and queue, anybody. You didn't have to be invited to it like you have to with the Hermes sample sale. It's very different. This was just come and queue and that's it. Now, I do understand that apparently you can use a service. I didn't even know these things existed, but apparently you can use a service which is a standing in line app, which is basically you pay somebody to go and queue up for you. So you don't have to get up at silly o'clock to go get in the queue, or you don't have to sit in the queue for hours and hours and hours. I had no idea these things existed, and for me, if I'm going to queue, I'm going to queue. I'm not going to make somebody else queue for me. But anyway, most of the time I think, no, I'm not going to queue. I cannot be bothered. But anyway, there's also been a lot of talk, shall we say, and opinions on the sample sale, saying that it's now bringing the Row into a little bit more mainstream way of doing things. The Row have always been very mysterious. They don't really advertise. It's very stealth-like. Obviously, it is quiet luxury, that phrase that we all know and love. And the fact that they are doing even a sample sale with all of this publicity, it sort of goes against their ethos of just, it's not a celebrity thing. It's not a big advertised thing. It is literally an under the radar, beautiful quality items at crazy prices. It's that quiet luxury. There's no logos on anything. And the fact that all of this is now in this big sample sale, and it's suddenly available, because obviously the sold out pieces get sold out within a minute or two, like the Margot bags. You can never get your hands on them. So yeah, where do I stand on this? Well, I don't really have an opinion. I do like the Row. I have never bought anything from the Row, but I was very tempted by the Margot bag. I tried it on in London. I also tried it on in New York. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was very tempted, but I had other things on my wish list. And so I never really got round to buying one, but I really liked the chocolate brown suede one. Oh, just beautiful. So yeah, I like the Row. I like the aesthetic. I am very, I suppose you can see from my collection behind, I am quite luxury in some respects. I don't do many neutrals like the beiges and the creams and the whites, which seems to be quite the Row-esque. But I am quite luxury as in I don't go for massively bright colours or patterns or anything too out there. I don't mind a logo, I don't mind a Louis Vuitton logo, the monogram, all of that. I don't mind any of that. So I'm somewhere in between. But yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I think if they want to do a sample sale and some people have got to go to the sample sale and have got some bargains, then great. Why shouldn't they? Why should you have to be invited to something? The ordinary person in the street should be able to buy whatever they want. And there's an argument that's just an age-old problem, isn't it? But yeah, so that is the Row. Let's move on to Goyard. Now, Goyard, I have heard and I have seen with my own eyes that you can now buy and order bags online. Now, before you start rushing and going to the website and ordering all the different things, it is selected pieces and it is personalisation. So it is ones that, it's certain ones, it's going to be things like the St. Louis, isn't it? But you can add your initials and stripes and things like that. So, but is this their first little toe in the water of how online shopping is going to go for Goyard? Because they have renowned themselves, haven't they, for being, again, slightly mysterious. They don't tell you the prices of anything. Their website is actually a reasonable website with all of the different things and colours and sizes and information on it. But yeah, you can't buy anything online and they don't tell you the price of anything online, which is so annoying, because then what, you have to go and find a store, a stockist, an outlet. There's none. There's no outlet near me at all. There is a store in London, which is what, 3-4 hours away from me on the train. It's not easy to just nip there. But every time I'm in London, I do want to just have a little look. I'm not sure if they are actually in any of the department stores in the UK. I don't think they are. I don't ever remember seeing them in Selfridges. I don't think they're in Harrods. I think it is literally that one standalone store, which admittedly is a little bit bigger than it used to be. New York, again, there was a standalone store which is really small. I've been to it, I bought something from there. Paris, there are a couple of stores opposite each other that sell slightly different things. There's also an outlet in, is it Printemps department store? I think there might be also in Bergdorf Goodman, I think. There may be in Saks, I don't know, but they are in certain outlets, but they are not easy to find. When you go to Paris, there is usually queues down the street trying to get in. Last time I was in Paris, which was this summer, we didn't have an issue. We did manage to get an appointment, which they tell you we don't do appointments. They do, because they did. However, when we turned up for the appointment, there was no queue. So we could have probably just turned up. So, but that was quite unusual. But whether it was because it was August and that's a very slow season for shopping in Paris, everybody shut down, I don't know. So maybe we were just lucky in that respect. But yeah, is this Goyard's first little foray into shopping online? Will that change their whole business model? Does it mean that suddenly these things are going to be available? Anyway, I just thought it was quite exciting. Let's talk about selling bags, buying bags, pre-loved, consignment, reselling, all of that. I have been trying to sell a few of my bags recently. Not an understatement to say I have had the worst time trying to sell any bags. I've mentioned them on my channel. I've had no takers. I have enlisted a gorgeous lady, Sasha, who is Global Lux Closet. She has been looking after all my sales for me, so I don't have to worry about the hassle of it, dealing with the money side of it, dealing with the postage and the customs and all of that. So she's absolutely amazing. She has a huge following. She buys and sells lots and lots and lots of bags for lots of people. She can't sell them. She can't sell them. I'm finally down to the last bag that I am selling, and it is my cousin. And I cannot. I have slashed the price to way under half of its retail. And it is perfect. It is pristine. I have used it, but you cannot tell I've used it. And it is in a beautiful navy colour. In fact, I'm just going to go get it. Right, I'm back. This is the cousin, and it is in a beautiful navy blue. Absolutely stunning. I'm trying to not... It shows so much brighter under the lights, and you can see the contrast a lot more. But actually, in real life, it is more... Does that show it? Oh, it looks very bright, but it's not as bright in real life. And it is a beautiful lambskin leather, and it's got the 3 compartments. Anyway, you've seen this bag a million times. It's got the silver hardware, it's got the chain that comes with it, it's got a crossbody guitar strap. It's a fabulous bag. So why am I selling it? Well, I don't really know why I'm selling it, to be honest, because there was a bag, a navy bag, that I really had my eye on, that actually Sasha has for sale, and yeah, I really wanted that bag, and I thought it would be too similar to this bag, and I just preferred the other one. But until I sell this, I was not actually going to buy the other one, and since then I have certain things happening in my family that are really exciting, and therefore I've put myself on pause anyway. So even if I did sell this, I wouldn't be buying the other one anyway, not right now. So anyway, that was just an aside, because I have slashed the price and no takers whatsoever. So I think now is a really bad time for selling bags. I think people are either not spending, or they want an absolute rock bottom price, which that is, and it still hasn't sold. I don't know. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea and everything else. I get it. I know the croissant isn't like the favourite bag, but I do think it is a really difficult time to sell bags. So yeah, for you out there that are wanting to buy pre-loved bags, there should be some bargains. So if you are in the market, then maybe have a look on some of these websites or go into store. There are no stores near me, no stores that are the bigger consignment stores. They are all in London. So when I was last in London, which was only a couple of weeks ago, we had a little bit of a look around some of the stores. So we went to Love Luxury, we went to Bagista, we went to Designer Exchange, we went to Cellier. I think they were all the ones, I think. So what did I think overall? And then we'll come on to Fashionphile in a minute, and we'll come on to the USA. So what did I think? Well, Bagista, I've always had a really great relationship with. I have bought and sold bags through them, and honestly, I think it's great. I've had no issues with them whatsoever. They always gave me a really fair price. Their store is really small, but they have some beautiful pieces. So if you are somebody that is looking for Hermes or Chanel or the real high-end, I don't know, those sort of pieces, go and have a look in Bagista, because that is their sort of specialty, really. The staff are lovely. I've had no issues. Love Luxury, again, high end, mainly Birkins, Kellys, mini Kellys, all those exotics. The store isn't massive in London, but my goodness, they have a lot of stock. They have a lot. There are Birkins literally lined up. Wasn't allowed to film in there, which is absolutely fine, but honestly, any colour, any size, any leather, they've probably got it. So again, if you're after Hermes, then maybe have a look at Love Luxury, although the prices I thought were particularly high, just my opinion. We then went to Cellier. Now I think is there 2 stores of Cellier, or have they moved? I'm not sure, but anyway, I went to the one in Knightsbridge. Again, lovely store, really small, didn't have a lot out on display. I think they have a lot in the back, and they will bring something to you if you want to have a look at something. It wasn't really the browsing experience that some of the other stores are, and we'll come on to Designer Exchange. So it isn't that sort of browsing, come in and, you know, have a mooch. It's not that sort of store. However, have I sold through Cellier? No, I haven't sold through Cellier, but I have bought a couple of bags, I think, from Cellier, and I again haven't had any issues with them. The dealings have been really, really good and easy. So again, I think they tend to look at things across the board. They have a lot of clothing as well. But again, if you're wanting a mooch, it's not that type of store. But they are good to deal with. Designer Exchange. Now, Designer Exchange, the one in Knightsbridge, I have never been to a consignment store, reseller store. I should call it a reseller store, because I believe Designer Exchange, they only do buyout. So they'll buy your bag from you and then they sell it on. I don't think anything's on consignment. So that is what they do. And their store is huge, absolutely huge. And there's so much stock. And it's not, I'm not saying it's not nicely set out, it is, but there's a lot of stock out and it's just sort of everywhere. So it's not a very, very upmarket, go in, sit down, have a glass of champagne, they'll bring things out to you. It's not like that. It is great for a mooch. If you want a little rummage around things and grabbing bags and, you know, and yes, I would always ask, can I look at this one please, and all the rest of it, but they are just on shelves, and it does feel like a big store. But yeah, my dealings with Designer Exchange, well, let me tell you about the store itself. So the store itself, I thought the prices were very inconsistent. There were some things that were really good prices, and then there were other things that were really, really high prices. So I would say you need to know your numbers, you need to know the retail, you need to know what the market is doing to shop in there. I think that would be my tip. For example, there was a couple of peekaboos that I saw, which I know they don't hold their value, but there were a couple that were like £1,200, £1,300, which for a £5,000 bag that looked pristine and everything else, you know, it's a really, really good deal for some of them. And then there was a Speedy that was, how much was it now? It was something, I can't remember, but I remember seeing there was a limited edition Speedy that was a really, really good price, and it was very tempting. There was also the Go 14 that I've talked about. So it was the size, and it was in pink, and yeah, pink is not my colour, even though I've got a little tiny bit of pink today. Pink is not my colour, but this bag was it £1,600 or £1,800? And it looked pristine. And the Go 14 in the store are what, £5,500? So there were some absolute bargains. Bargains. But there were also, I remember seeing a Bobby bag, which for me, so that's the Dior oblique version in the, like, I think it was a medium size. These are not classic bags particularly. These are not bags that hold their value. I wouldn't expect to see a Bobby bag being near to retail, because it's just not going to hold its value. As I say, it's a little bit of a staple with Dior, but it's not a classic that's going to hold its value like a Birkin, a Kelly, a classic flat, anything like that. And this Bobby bag was something like that. or it was something like that, and that is not far off retail. And I just thought, no, who is buying that? Well, it was on the shelf, so nobody is buying it. But yeah, there were definitely things that I thought, slightly inconsistent. So you have to know your numbers. You absolutely have to know. Otherwise, yeah, you could get it quite wrong. Okay, let's talk about Fashionphile. So when we went to New York, so this is with the handbag tribe, so we're talking a year and a bit ago. I can't believe it's over a year ago. It's like nearly a year and a half ago, my goodness. Anyway, we went to New York and we spent a whole day at Fashionphile. We had the most amazing day, and I love their setup in Fashionphile. They have a setup where there are some things on display, but it is a nice display. It's not just stock or shoved on shelves. There is a lovely display. So there's a little bit of mooching that you can do. There's lovely sofas and high tables, and it's a nice environment. It doesn't feel claustrophobic. It doesn't feel like a store. It feels more like a display place. You then sit down, have a drink, they bring you whatever you want. You can then, you get their iPad, and all of their stock is on the iPad. And in effect, you sort of add it to your basket, and adding it to the basket and then submitting it means, I would like to see it, please. You can have, how it worked for us, because we're such a big group of us, they allowed us 3 items at any one time out, and then we had to give it back, and they keep it for you and everything else. But you couldn't have tons and tons and tons of things out all at the same time, which I think is the right thing to do. So if you knew what you were looking for, you could find it on the website, add it to basket and say that I'd like to look at these 3, please. They would bring them, try them on, do your mod shots and all the rest of it, decide, oh, that one's a definite no, I'll give you that one back, I'll look at this one instead now. And as I say, anytime you could have 3. If there was one that you were, sort of thinking about, you could say, right, I'll have a look at another one, but can you keep that to one side? They would then keep it to one side for you. You'd then bring another one. And it was a really nice, civilized way to shop. It was lovely. It was really, really nice. What I would say is that, again, you sort of need to have had a look on the website to look at, have an idea of what you're going to look for if you are. Because if it was that you're just looking for a mooch, you're just going to sit there in store and be scrolling through their website and then thinking, oh, what do I want to look at? And it will take forever because their stock is huge. As you walk in, there are little windows and you can see into where the racking is, and the stock they have is insane. It's massive, and that isn't their only store. That is the biggest reseller store I've ever seen. It's just, the racking is huge. Anyway, so what do I think overall? Well, I think the Fashionphile, the way they present things is really nice. I think their prices are reasonably high. I think there was a couple that I bought at the time that I thought were okay, but I don't think their prices are cheap. For example, the condition that they showed was pretty much what it was in all the ones that I looked at. So I would say that if you look at their website, you can rely on their descriptions. I think they're very fair in how they describe things, in my experience. The problem with Fashionphile is it is USA based, and therefore I don't live in the USA. I can't bob over to New York or San Diego or wherever the other stores are. I can't do that every month or 2 or whenever. But I can stock their website. But I then have the risk that there's going to be customs when it comes into the UK, because these are high value things and you are buying it, so the paperwork is going to come through and you could be stung with customs. So you don't exactly know what the customs are going to be either. So it is one of those things that if you buy from Fashionphile in the USA, if you're in the UK, you have to be prepared that there could be at least another 20% maybe that you're going to get hammered with. So I think that is the thing, you've got to be very, very careful with that. But the good news is, for those of us in the UK, that the company Lux Collective, which is the a British company, a reseller. They, I believe, now whether they went under fully, I'm not sure. They either went into administration, they certainly closed down, stopped trading. That company, and whether it's the shell of that, or I'm not sure how the deal was struck, but essentially it is being bought by Fashionphile. So Fashionphile are now going to be in the UK. In fact, I think they are already in the UK. So it is now known as Fashionphile Collective. I think there's going to be a store in London as well. And this is going to give all the other resellers, consigners, whoever, a run for their money. They are. Because, yeah, the way, the stock that they've got, the gravitas that Fashionphile have got are going to shake up the market. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I know the website is up and running because I've already had a look. I don't know when the store will open, but I will be very excited to go and have a look, see how big it is, see how they've set everything up. I wish it every success. I do. So yeah, anyway, that is my little roundup. I think there's a lot going on in the luxury world, and yeah, and in the background here I've got this is the Lydia bag from Fairfax and Favour, and I've just opened that and revealed it to you guys, and oh my goodness, do you have some thoughts on that? Oh dear, you really do, don't you? If you want to know what I'm talking about, go and have a look at this video right here, because I'll put it here on the screen, because oh yeah, I caused a bit of a ruckus, didn't I? Anyway, go and have a look at that one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on another one.